All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are just about to start our self-care workshop today. I want to introduce our speaker for this afternoon, Titania Jackson. She works with CIS Communities and Schools, and she is very qualified to talk about this topic, and we're so excited to have her today. So I'm going to pass it along to her, and she'll start the presentation. So thank you, Titania.
You are welcome. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Like Alex said, my name is Titania Jackson. I work for Communities and Schools of Houston. Communities and Schools of Houston is an on-site dropout prevention program for early college students, not for early college students, but for college students, I'm sorry. We're also in the K through 12 in certain ISDs throughout the Houston area, and we are in a number of Lone Star colleges as well. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about self-care and why we need to self-care. I'm also going to speak about a few reasons why you should self-care. So we're going to go ahead on and start the presentation. So first things first, we're talking about mental health in college students. I just want to give you a few statistics of why this is such a big thing and why we're starting to take our mental health more seriously in the college settings, because mental health is important. We have 39% of students in colleges who experience a significant mental health issue, the largest health burden facing the college-age community. So that means the largest burden that our college students are facing is due to mental health. So the age of the onset for many mental health concerns is during the college age years. Mental health is a strong predictor of academic outcomes. So basically, if your mental health is not where it needs to be, a lot of times you will not pass your classes, or you won't go to your classes. You won't be able to balance these homework assignments and papers. So we want to make sure the mental health is healthy in order for us to have students return to school, be successful, and graduate. So, and also 2 in 5 students do not seek help. A lot of times they don't seek help because they don't know help is here and readily available for them. So that's one of the reasons why I'm on campus. I'm always sending out flyers of what I do and how I can help students, because we want them to know that help is here at our campus. If you notice during a lot of the PowerPoints, I have little pics on the side because I know college students love things that are funny. So if you notice on the side, it's anxiety speaking to someone. It says, "Get ready to fight." And you're saying, "What?" And anxiety is saying, "I don't know, dude, just get ready to fight." And you're like, "Fight what?" And anxiety is saying, "I don't know, just be ready." And that is what anxiety is. Anxiety is overthinking, being prepared for the unknown, to where a lot of times you're not able to do things because you're focusing on the unknown. So more than 40% of college students have felt more than an average amount of stress within the past 12 months. Of course, due to the pandemic this year, those percentages is probably a lot higher because there's a lot of additional stress that goes into being a college student during the pandemic. So also more than 80% of college students felt overwhelmed by all they had to do in the past year. And so they're saying the past year. So that's 80% of college students. That's a lot to be overwhelmed by everything that they have to do. So anxiety is a big factor in what's preventing students from being successful. So what is anxiety? It's your body's natural response to, it's your biological survival system. So it's natural, it's not a bad thing. You need this in order to survive. However, if you do experience anxiety that's persistent, it's all the time, it's uncontrollable to where you start to feel overwhelmed, to where you dread everyday situations and occasions that's supposed to be happy, anxiety interferes with that daily activities that if your anxiety interferes with daily activities, you might have an anxiety disorder. If it doesn't necessarily prevent you from doing things, but it's very overwhelming, that's when I feel like you should at least start the self-care process. So we can go to the next slide. Some symptoms that are present for 2 or more consecutive weeks, that's feeling of nervousness, having an impending sense of danger, panic or doom, increased heart rate, breathing rapidly, sweating and trembling, feeling weak or tired, difficulty concentrating, having trouble sleeping, and experiencing stomach problems. Also, another thing that students, college students face a lot is depression. We have 60.5% of students who are experiencing loneliness, and that's one of the most common symptoms of depression. And we have 1 in 5 college students report feeling so depressed that it's difficult to function. So if we have students, especially 1 in 5 of students who cannot function due to being depressed, how can we expect them to be in school, pass classes, and be successful? We also have 50% of students that admit to having suicidal thoughts. And the most important part of that is saying that those are the ones who admit to it. We have a large number of students who don't admit to having these thoughts. So a lot of times they don't get the help that they need. So what is depression? It's basically the changes in your sleep patterns, changing your eating. You have a depressed mood or irritability, feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness, and also decreasing interest and lack of energy and motivation. So what causes depression and anxiety? First and foremost, genetics can be a factor. A lot of times we have students who do talk to their parents and know, like, hey, my mom has suffered with depression, and she talks to someone or she's on medication, so a lot of times I feel like our younger generation, they are a lot more knowledgeable about depression and anxiety and figuring out their family history, so they can kind of pinpoint certain, how they possibly could have it. So family history, genetics is one part. History of trauma, that's another one. And also adjustment disorder. So we have a lot of students who are coming from high school to where mom is setting the alarm for them, getting them to school, doing everything for them. And now we have students that are brand new into the college life. And sometimes that can be very overwhelming when you don't know what to do. You don't have someone there holding your hand and kind of lead the way. So sometimes it could just be struggling to adjust to a new environment, a new routine, and things like that. Those are things that can be causes of depression and anxiety. Also, chronic illnesses and grief and loss. A global pandemic as well. As you see at the bottom, that's what I put. And as you see in the little pictures, the dog with everything on fire around him. And he's like, okay, everything is fine. Because that's what happens when we talk to a lot of our students. A lot of things are going on. And whether they're embarrassed or scared or prideful to ask for help, they just sit there and saying everything is fine, knowing in their mind it's like a fire going on around them. One thing I did want to discuss is grief and loss, especially in this time of our COVID-19 pandemic. We have a lot of people who have lost loved ones or did have COVID themselves. So they experience different things. So I did want to speak a little bit about grief and loss right quick. I think you can click it again. Wait, no. So yeah, you can click it again. I'm sorry. So what if grief? What is grief? Grief is basically our internal experience of loss. It's made up of our thoughts and our feelings inside. It could host a bunch of emotions such as sadness. It could also look like shock, anger, confusion, regret, and sometimes even relief. These feelings do change day to day, minute to minute. So just know that our bodies and our behavior is affected by grief. It's our sleep patterns. It's the way our energy is, whether we're happy, sad, and things like that. It also can affect us physically to where we're having stomach aches and headaches. All of that can be a part of grief. So what is mourning? Mourning is a little different. That's while grief, is our internal experience of loss and mourning, is of loss. Mourning is how we express grief on the outside. So that's our crying, our sharing stories of loved ones, writing about your experiences, collecting mementos, things of that. Mourning is that necessary piece that helps us heal during that grieving process. So what causes grief? That's death of a loved one, death of someone that we're connected to in some way. It doesn't have to necessarily be someone you talk to all the time or a friend. It can also be a public figure of someone we don't know. For instance, I'm a big basketball fan. So when Kobe Bryant passed, I cried. It really, really hurt me because I thought that he was like one of the best basketball players ever. And this is someone I never met. So I did experience grief for this person in mourning. But also other things that causes grief, it can be death of a pet, loss of a relationship and things like that, loss of just normalcy. In this pandemic, a lot of things have changed. And so normalcy is one of those things that we have lost, and others more than some of us. This is one thing that I wanted to put out because this 2020 year, we've lost so many public figures that really touched our hearts. And of course, the guy who played Black Panther is one of them. So why do we grieve people we've never met? Basically, because their work, their body of work helped us maybe get through a difficult time in our life, or it might have inspired us. It could be a role model for you. And ever since you're little, like, oh, I want to be like this person. And then they pass. So that's something that you wind up grieving over because that was your inspiration and your motivation. So sometimes their death can also trigger you from a previous loss that you've had. So it could be a number of reasons why you can grieve people that you never met. Sometimes it doesn't have to be someone you've met physically in order for us to grieve over them. So during this time, many of us, perhaps all of us, are grieving something, and some of us are grieving many things. So I know a lot of people have heard about the stages of grief, but I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that. So we all know that everyone says that there are 5 stages of grief. It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And doesn't that just seem like such a straight line, right? So just want to let you know, this is fake. This is a myth. This is not true. Everyone grieves differently. It can, and it goes, your mood and all of those things can change, like I said before, day to day, from happiness to sadness to fear to hope to anger. It goes different ways. So you see the stages of grief that I have down there that's showing all of the loss and hurt all the way to the loss adjustment, the stages of grief. But then I have over there on the side my experience, because it's not just a straight line. It's not just, bam, 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 things are in order. No, it's emotions, and it's emotions that we cannot control. So one day you might feel really great, and feel like, oh, I'm progressing. Everything is fine. I've made peace. And then the very next day you can be sad about it again, because you're sad about whether it's those memories or how that person has impacted your life. So I don't want you to feel I wouldn't like anyone to feel as if they're not grieving correctly, because there's not one way to grieve. So what do we do about grief? We try to look for small moments of hope. We try to allow ourselves to mourn. Also remember that healing takes time, but not just time. It's not just time that it takes. I don't want you to basically not allow yourself to feel those emotions. That's the most important part of it. It's not basically looking at the time frame like, oh, it's going to take me 3 months or a year to heal. More than anything, just let your body does what it naturally wants to do. And also remember, you're not alone. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. Here at Lone Star, at our Kingwood campus, we have a lot of different organizations and people that will help you. So if anytime you feel as if you're alone, don't worry about it. Reach out, get help, because there are plenty of people that are here to help you, or can point you in the right direction to the person who can. Okay, so this is the best part. I've kind of talked a little bit about some things that can happen if you're not self-caring, but some things that might happen in life. And so when these difficult times come, you have to self-care. And right now in the age of COVID, self-care is very, very important. And especially for our college students, because a lot of students that we deal with aren't just our traditional college students. We have college students who are parents. We have those who work multiple jobs. We have those who are really trying hard to balance all of these things and still feel they're not doing well. I'm so sorry. That messes up. Okay, can y'all hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. So self-care is something that is very, very, very important for us all. We have to take care of our bodies. We have to take care of our minds. This is the thing that keeps us going. So basically, self-care can reduce our stress and enhance our quality of life. Research shows that in addition, it can keep you healthy if self-care can also improve your overall well-being. It also helps you manage the daily stresses in your life, the academic pressures that you have, whether it's the assignments, finals, having to sign up for other classes, all of those things. It also help you manage other stresses like your interpersonal relationships you have, whether it's your relationships with your friends, your other professors, different things like that. It's always helping managing our daily stresses. So the importance of self-care. So at the left, we see your stressful life, right? And so at the very top, we see in the blue circles, self-sacrifice, poor self-care, fatigue, and burnout, dissatisfaction. That's those stresses that come into life and you're not self-caring. So at the bottom, we see the green circles, which is the good self-care, the satisfaction, the resilience, and all of those things. And you see the cup on the side that's showing you cannot pour from an empty cup. So take care of yourself first. That is really, really true. So basically, just imagine a cup being full of water, and every time you have an assignment due or life happens and these stressful things come, just remember a little bit is poured out of your cup. So if you're not self-caring and pouring back into yourself, then you're going to run empty. And when that happens, a lot of times it's panic attack, it's the feeling of overwhelmness to where you just want to just quit everything. And that's not what we want our college students to do. We want you to be resilient. We want you to be successful. So self-care is very, very important. So I'm not sure if everyone remembers this lady, but she says flat tire. Ain't nobody got time for that. So that's like self-care. Just imagine driving a car, right? And you're not self-caring, and the car is trying to get you where you need to go. Guess what happens? You get a flat. And you keep trying to drive. It's going to be difficult to drive. It's going to be hard to steer straight. It's going to make a smooth ride more bumpy and shaky. It's going to, it could cause a wreck, and you could possibly not reach your destination. It's the same thing for a college student. So things can basically keep being thrown into your lives because, once again, life happens. And so if you don't self-care and take time for yourself, you can wind up and not reach your destination. And our destination for all of our college students is to graduate. So we want to get you there. And how to get there is self-care is a big part of it. So how can you practice self-care? Self-care can be done many different ways. But make sure, I can say, whatever you choose to do, make sure you make it a priority to put it into your schedule. So this is just a self-care wheel that I have, because self-care is for many different aspects of your life, whether it's physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, professional, or personal. You need to self-care in every different area of your life. One thing people might not realize, or our students might not realize, is sleep. Sleep is so essential for our everyday and overall health. So just imagine if you're working late, not getting off work until 2 o'clock and have an 8 o'clock class. So if you get off work at 2 o'clock, you have to make it home, you have to shower, and then get in bed and let your body settle down. By the time it is for you to wake up, you have little sleep. So a lot of times you're probably more irritable, or you're just too tired to focus and things like that. So sleep is a really, really important aspect of self-care. Also, exercise. I know a lot of us during this pandemic may not have been exercising, but sometimes just get out, take a walk or something, get some sun on your skin, because research shows that exercise can relieve stress. It improves your mood and it helps you sleep better. So exercise can even help sleep. Also, unplug from technology. I know we live in an age of technology, and we're always on our phones, whether it's social media. I know I get everything on my phone, emails, news. So it's work, is just everyday life, news, is social media, and all of those things. And sometimes we're so invested in it to we're always in it to where it takes over. So research shows that downtime, it replenishes the brain's stores of attention and motivation. It encourages productivity and creativity, and is essential to both achieve our highest level of performance. Research also shows that spending time in nature can have remarkable benefits to human health. Something else that's self-care is doing something you love, whether you like reading books or skating, anything like that, anything that can be an outlet for managing stress and can increase your happiness level. Also, showing self-compassion is another aspect of self-care. Self-compassion is treating yourself like you would treat your best friend. You know, talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you care about. So a lot of times we are our own worst critics, whether it is a test or if it's an assignment, a paper. We look at it and we're like, oh, it could have been better. It could have been this. You know, we have a lot of negative self-talk. But how do you talk to your best friends? How do you talk to your friends? Try to talk to yourself in that way. That way you'll boost yourself up. And that's a big part of self-care as well. Journaling, that can have a lot of benefits. Just writing can help your process of feelings, and it can ignite creativity centers in the brain to help you to be present in the moment. So whether you're journaling to talk about your day-to-day life or just journaling when you want to just talk about, like, as a mindfulness activity, if you want to talk about what's going on, what you see, what you feel, what you hear right then at that moment. That's a great part of self-care. Practicing gratitude. That's like one of the biggest. I feel like every day I try to wake up and just be grateful. 2020 has been a very difficult year for everyone in different ways. So just practicing gratitude as soon as you wake up, it can kind of make you feel better. Connecting with family or friends. I know we're not able to connect maybe the way that we want to in big groups and things like that. But the best thing about technology is we have been so creative in being able to connect with our family and friends, whether we're doing these Zoom calls, whether we're doing virtual games and things like that. That can make you feel better. It can bring you happiness and a feeling of connection with your other family and friends that you might not be able to see on a day-to-day basis now. And also a big one is just practicing meditation. Just taking a few minutes to clear your mind of various stressors can be a great way to practice self-care. Research shows that meditation can improve your focus, your immunity, and overall your mental well-being. So here are a few resources I like to share with my students. Self-care apps, they are really, really great because sometimes we forget to self-care. It's something that we have to practice to get it right. It's something we have to schedule in our calendar in order to remember to do it, because so many times we're always on the go till we forget about ourselves. So these self-care apps, please download them on your phone. You can choose whichever one you like the most, and you can keep that one. But this is just a list of the different self-care apps I like to share with my college students. These are a few community resources I would like students to try to take benefit from if they feel as if they can't come to campus and get help. So a few of the mental health resources that we have NAMI Greater Houston, Spring Branch Community Health Clinic. We also have Psychology Today. So you can find a therapist in your community if you go to that link, that website at the bottom of Psychology Today. So if you feel as if you need help in any kind of way, any kind of mental health help, and you don't want to go through the colleges to get a referral, or if you feel like it's more intense, these are a few options that students can take advantage of. We also have a few grief and self-care resources. Like I said before, because we are in the age of this pandemic and COVID life, there are a few people that have been touched by death. So I would like y'all to use some of these self-care resources for grief if you would like. So we have Bowles Place, we have the Grief Recovery Center, and we have Active Minds. Also, we also have resources right here at Lone Star College-Kingwood. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and filled with anxiety, depression, things of that nature, you can always contact me. I am the Communities and Schools Program Manager at the Kingwood campus. My email is right there, as you see, as well as my phone number. So you can contact me anytime you have questions, or if you want to talk about something, if you just want to vent, let me know, email me, call me, and I will contact you back and try to help you as soon as possible. At Lone Star College, we also have a counseling center that might help you with academic counseling, career services, disability services. I've also included that link on the right side of this slide. So if there aren't any questions for me at the moment, you can always email me, but if you do have questions, you can ask them now.
All right, guys, you can message in the Q&A section right now if you have any questions. I'll be keeping track of them. And I do want to take this time to thank you, Titania, because I think this covered not only just the self-care like we talked about, but things that we all deal with. And I know personally, I have dealt with anxiety, and this pandemic has heightened it a lot, but I've realized that, taking a walk outside during my work breaks, being able to meditate, doing anything where you're getting sunlight, vitamin D is definitely good. And one thing to note, would you want to touch on seasonal depression just a teeny bit as well?
Sure. Do you have the flyer that I sent to pull up if you want to go over it that way, or I could just talk about it while we're on here?
Yeah, let me pull it up for you. We'll do it that way. All right, it's pulling up.
Okay.
All right, my email, and then I will adjust the size.
Okay.
Oop, wrong way. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you, Alex. So this flyer was basically something because we just wanted to put together something for seasonal depression for our students, a couple tips and tricks, because we know next week is the one of the first holidays, to kickstart Christmas and everything. So a lot of time, well, they're going to be out of school, and especially during this pandemic, the feeling of loneliness can definitely increase seasonal depression. It could also just be how the weather changes. It gets a lot darker faster, so the sun isn't always shining every day. So it's really easy to get caught up in seasonal depression. So I did want to put together just a few tips and tricks. It is something like the self-care that we had during the presentation, but it's just an extension of that. So one of the best tricks is for practicing self-care during the holiday season or just period. I always suggest students to take deep breaths, deep breathing timeouts for themselves. That is very, very helpful, and it's really, really simple. A lot of times you might get overwhelmed, having racing thoughts or having negative thoughts. So just taking the time out to start deep breathing, counting in 4 times as you inhale, counting to 4 as you exhale, and doing that just repeatedly until you calm down. So that's a really, really good one. And it helps like immediately. It really, really does. It helps a lot. So that's one of the first things that I always suggest. Also moving around, like I said before, exercise, getting out the house, things of that nature. That is really, really, really important. Also, make sure you eat and hydrate. Do not skip regular meals in anticipation of a holiday meal, so make sure you try to continue eating a balanced meal instead of just running to our normal comfort foods. Also, setting to-do lists. So a lot of time during the holiday seasons is a lot of things that you have to do and you're really, really busy. So I would suggest to make a to-do list that helps you know in the beginning of your day what you have to do for the rest of your day. So that really helps. So you can also include in your to-do list a little time for yourself. Another thing is setting boundaries. That is really, 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 really important. A lot of times we feel guilty for saying no, but it's okay. When someone asks you to do something, it's a request, it's asking. It's okay to say no. Set healthy boundaries for yourself. Our college students are busy. And we're walking into finals time. So make sure you set healthy boundaries for yourself and not feel guilty for setting them. And lastly, just being generous. It's the holiday season. A lot of times we're always a lot more cheerful and happy during this time, but just think about those who are dealing with seasonal depression. So you can just make sure you try to be a little, like I said before in the PowerPoint, just being a little bit more grateful, practicing gratuity, in the morning, thankfulness, because it is around Thanksgiving time. So you can just think about some of the things that you're thankful for. That can sometimes make things not seem so dark and gloomy. And also in the bottom of that flyer, I do have my information on there as well. So any student that's feeling like they need to speak with someone, they can speak with me. But also, if you're just in emotional distress, I also have a 24-hour crisis center phone number that they can reach out to as well, because we will be on a holiday break.
Perfect. And we did have one question come in. It was, what are your thoughts on helping elementary, middle, and high school students with not being able to see their friends and having to stay inside all the time?
Mm-hmm. I must say, of course, I think it's so healthy doing things virtual, just because we know there's no risk in doing virtual activities. There are actually a list of creative things for K through 12 on Pinterest. I'm a really big Pinterest person. So there's literally a whole catalog of virtual activities and things for kids at all ages to do, whether it's really young, elementary age, middle school age, or high school. So I always say, make sure, just include technology. Technology has made things a lot easier to be able to connect with our friends and family.
Thank you so much. And since there's no other questions, that'll end our workshop for today. I want to thank you guys for attending, and this will be posted on our Student Life YouTube as well. So if you need to go back to any of the information, you'll be able to reach it at that time. Thank you again, Titania, and thank you so much to our interpreters today. And I hope you guys have a great holiday break and stay safe, everybody.
All right. See you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.